We're broadcasting live from Bribie Island this morning. This is in the federal seat of Longman. It is a seat that is currently held by the Liberal Party on a margin of a shade over 3%. But just like we saw in the federal seat of Leichhardt yesterday, it's a seat that the Labor Party feel is particularly vulnerable, so they've been attacking both hard. Whether they succeed or not, well, we'll have to find out on the weekend. But the interesting thing about Longman is that it's changed hands a few times since 1996, and there's an interesting spread of voters. So here on Bribie Island, there's a lot of retirees, but you cross the bridge and you go to places like Caboolture, there's a lot of young working class families. There are poorer people as well, but also farmers spread out through the electorate as well. So you've as I said, you've got this interesting mix, but the one thing that unites everybody when it comes to a common concern about things, and it's the cost of living. Everywhere you go, it's the cost of living, how expensive things have become. Now, I had the Labor candidate on the program a little earlier, and here's what she had to say about what she's hearing from the many door knocks that she's performed so far.
Cost of living relief, like you said, is really shining through, and healthcare, making sure people can go and see a GP again for free, opening more urgent care clinics, that kind of stuff is really cutting through here in Longman. People are really happy with the work that the Labor government's done, and they want to see that ongoing cost of living relief going into the future as well.
Okay, but what she didn't say, I mean, obviously she's trying to keep things positive. What she didn't say is how tough businesses here in Longman have been doing over the past 3 years. So we spoke to a couple of businesses, small businesses, in the last hour, and here's an example of what they've had to say, the issues that they've had to deal with.
It's gotten to a point now that we can no longer produce bread because we're now making bread at a loss. So in order to alleviate those costs, we've just stopped making bread altogether. Now we have 15 kilowatts of solar panels, and yet our electricity bill, even after the bread production has ceased, is still about $15,000 a quarter.
So $15,000 a quarter is your energy bill.
And if we were to pass on the costs for the loaf of bread, the true cost of a loaf of bread to customers, would be about $8.50 a loaf.
The true cost of a price of coffee, if we were going to make any sort of margin on it, any sort of profit on it, would be $10. $10 for a coffee.
That's what it would be for you guys.
You got to add in
to
exactly. Yeah. You got to add into a coffee your rent, your GST, your cup, your coffee, the barista that made it, the milk, and that's a holistic factor of it. That is the true cost of it. But you cannot pass that on to your customer because they're not going to pay for it.
It's staggering, isn't it? Well, Terry Young joins me now. He is the LNP member who has held this seat now for the past 2 elections, hoping to make it 3 out of 3. Terry, good to see you this morning.
Yeah, thanks
for
having me.
It's a terrible indictment of things, isn't it, at the moment, and a reminder of just how tough the environment is when you've got business owners that you know around here.
Yeah.
You got Michael and Richard. Michael's saying that his energy bills has gone up $15,000 a quarter.
Yeah.
And then you got Richard who says, you know, the cost of a coffee should be $10. I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it, just to survive?
Yeah, 100%. And it's a story that I'm hearing everywhere, unfortunately, through the electorate. You know, I look at just across the road from my office, I've got 3 hairdressers or barber shops within 500 metres that have shut in the last 12 months because they just couldn't pay the rent. It's crazy.
Do you feel like this argument has become forgotten about, though, in the last few weeks of the campaign? Why do you think that is? The fact that small business, which is the backbone of this country, why aren't the polls more in your favour, given the conditions that these businesses are working under have been from a Labor government?
Yeah, look, it's a great question, and I think, you know, the political spin has been to take all the emphasis and the focus off the reality of the cost of living crisis, and it's been a masterful, you know, advertising plan by the Labor Party to distract people from it. But the thing is that this is a reality, and people, they're not mugs. They can see it out there, mate. They'll see through all this.
Do you expect it to get any worse?
I think it will if they're re-elected, for sure. Their policies, their monetary policies just don't work. They are all about big business and corporates, and there's a place for that, but they do not like small business, and they'll do everything they can to make it tougher for small business so they can get people working for big businesses, which of course they can unionise, which is their MO and their ideology.
So what are you hearing? So you're out pre-polling at the moment, you're door knocking, you're doing it all. You've been the member here for you know, as I said, 2 elections in a row now.
Yeah.
What's the biggest complaint?
Look, cost of living by far and away is number one, but also we have a real problem with housing affordability, and therefore we have a big homeless situation here.
Right.
You know, a lot of people sleeping in parks, sleeping in cars, and these aren't people that the dishevelled, you know, man that's all got dreadlocks and so forth. These are families and working families that are living in their cars. It's tragic.
I spoke at the start about the interesting demographics here in Longman, where you've got the retirees and then across the bridge, you know, your blue collar working class young families, and as you mentioned, there's some poorer folks, farmers too. It's just this big spread. Has that changed much since you've been the member?
Yeah, look, it has. It's changed. Look, I grew up here, and the interesting thing is that most of it was dairy farms when I was a kid, and I've seen it slowly but surely. These farms have been cut up into suburbia, and we've got to have growth, and I understand that, but that's changed the demographic as well very
Right.
much. And as you say, aspirational young people buying their first home, a lot of new estates here.
Is there an urban drift? Sorry, yeah, from Brisbane, or
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
and also a little bit of interstate, but mainly because it's still more affordable out here. So younger
Right.
people getting into the first home, we've got a lot of those out here. But we've still got the cockies out in the west, at Woodford and Wamiran. We still produce 60% of Australia's strawberries in this electorate.
Yeah.
So we've still got a big farming community.
Just a final point here, and look, I've had a bee in my bonnet over this particular policy for a while now, and it's taxing unrealised gains. I mean, most people won't have $3 million in their super. I won't. Most people won't. But the idea of taxing a gain that hasn't happened yet doesn't sit well with me, and I feel like a lot of folks don't realise that. And this is a policy push from the Labor government, and if the Greens get in, you know, that could well go through. For a place like Longman, Bribie Island, you've got a lot of retirees. Whether they've got that much buried in their super, I don't know. Maybe unlikely, but do they bring that up at all?
Yeah, look, they do, and the thing about it is that's where it is now, and once they get it in, who's to say they don't lower it to 2 million and 1 million? And let's think about it, in 20 or 30 years' time, probably half the people will have over $3 million in their super.
From indexation,
Of course, yeah, that's the way it works. So I think it's a terrible thing, and you can't be paying tax on money that you haven't earned. I don't think that's Australian.
Well, it just goes against the general principles of investing. That's why I don't like it. I mean, regardless of whether you've got that much or not, it's the principle of the matter. But
yeah, 100%.
anyway, Terry, good to see you. Thanks for your time. Best of luck this weekend. You feeling okay?
Yeah, no, look, the people here are good, honest people. They understand. I understand the electorate, and they're very relatable to me. And they've been good to me the last 2 terms, and I'm looking forward to doing a third term and getting some stuff done.
You got a target on your back this time, though, from two election wins in a row.
Every time, mate.
Yeah,
That's
you
all
just
right.
deal with it.
I've got broad shoulders.
Appreciate it, Terry. Thank you so much.